So we're going to be going over the 2025, the best and worst insurance companies, homeowners insurance companies in Florida. I do this every year. Kind of gives people a perspective if they're shopping for insurance, whether that be changing carriers, looking for a new carrier, brand new into the state of Florida. I give some insight as to these insurance companies. So my name is Mike Keeler. I'm a licensed public adjuster in the state of Florida. So let me just kind of talk about how I rate companies. I don't take into account what the cost of a policy is because that could skew things, because a lot of times people who shop for cheap policies have very little coverages, and so it would actually skew the rating system on how I use it, because if you don't have coverage that you've said you don't want, let me give you a prime example of this. Let's say hurricane coverage, and you tell your insurance company, I don't want hurricane coverage, right? So then they deny the claim if you make a hurricane claim. Well, of course, you don't have the coverage. So I can't rate it on that because you got the cheapest policy. But what I do and how I do rate things are based on the claim handling, the claims themselves, the responsiveness from the claim adjusters, and also what is their history of paying claims. So this is all I have experience in. After all, what an insurance company is supposed to do is whenever there's a new claim, pay it. Or if they find a good reason within a policy not to pay it, then so be it, right? But yes, ultimately, the only job of an insurance company is to adjust claims. That's the end result of an insurance company. So Florida is really a different market than any other state. I hate to say it, there are no good companies in Florida. Not even the big companies. If you live in a different state and have had success in claims, you come to Florida, good luck. It's a wild west here. Florida is treated differently. Also, probably California and Texas. Um, there's also like Alabama, all the southern states and coastal areas. These states get treated a little bit differently than the people that are in the middle of the country. Um, Usually here in Florida, we are treated badly, meaning the insureds, the homeowners, the property owners. Claims get difficult. They don't get paid very fast or at all. They're just overall bad. So I rate the companies on bad, really bad, and okay, because there isn't a good company here in Florida. And really, when you take a look at it, the roof claims dominate the Florida market because of our weather. So yes, there's a lot of water damage claims, and undoubtedly the most experience that I have is with anything involving the roof claims and water damage, because those are the prominent claims that we have here in Florida. So I want to highlight this. This was data collected from April of 2024 to June of 2024 by OIR, which is the Office of Insurance Regulations here in Florida. And it just cites the insurance company and the amount of policies that they have written in Florida. So as you can see, Citizens is number one with 1.2 million policies. Second closest is State Farm, which State Farm was always like down here, somewhere in this area. So they've really shot up. I'm going to guess that's mostly the middle of the state, not necessarily coastal. Universal's third. Universal was actually number one a few years ago, and then Citizens took over. Tower Hill, American Bankers, who's been coming on a lot lately. I don't even think they were in top 15 a few years ago. Slide is a newer insurance company. American Integrity. First Protective is known as Frontline. All right. So these companies have different names for all kinds of different things. That's Frontline. Castle Key is Allstate. ASI Preferred is Progressive. It's blocking here, but as you can see, Allstate has 200,000 policies only in Florida. So I don't know what the number is here for Progressive, but it's probably somewhere around that 200 mark. So this is the second tier of insurance companies. So after previous top 15, 16 Southern Oak, and you can see they only write 125,000 policies. Homeowners Choice, I don't know who in the heck they are. American Modern Home, Kin, okay, American Security, Home Site. This is Farmers, but I think they're no longer obviously in the state of Florida. So a lot of times I get calls from people out of the blue. Hey Mike, listen, I saw your video rating insurance companies. Can you recommend somebody? Respectfully, I can't. Because where you live and the zip code that you're at and the area that you live is the determining factor of who writes policies in your area. It makes a difference on the zip code and where you live, what county. So the insurance company takes all this into account. So not every insurance company is going to write a policy in your area. Let me give you an example on this. So as I put here, some areas like Cape Coral, the west coast of Florida, might have more difficulty than Orlando. So what you have to do is you have to call an insurance agent to find out what companies are writing policies in your area. Let's say I live in Orlando and I want to get a new insurance company. Okay. The only way you can find out, I can't help you with that. I wish I could. I wish I had that info, but only an agent. So you call an agent. Hello, Mr. Insurance Agent. My name's John Smith. I'm looking to find a different insurance company. I'm paying $10,000 a year, and that's way too much. Okay, what's your zip code, Mr. Smith? Well, I'm at 33333. Okay, let me take a look here. Give me a minute. All right, I've got two insurance companies that are running policies. You got Citizens and you got Slide. Can you send me over the quotes, Mr. Agent? Yes, we'll email you the quotes. Okay. So then what you can do is call another agent. You live in Orlando, let's say it's an Orlando agent. So maybe you call an agent in Tampa or Jacksonville. They could be anywhere in the state. And maybe they have access to a couple other companies, but what you're going to find out is, generally speaking, in Florida, you'll be lucky if you get 2 or 3 insurance companies that will insure you no matter where you live anymore. The central of the state, central part of the state, that Orlando, a little bit west into Tampa, a little bit east into the coast, that general area. Even Jacksonville's not too bad. They haven't got hit. You'll have more opportunities to get better insurance companies, or at least more diverse selection of insurance companies. People on the coast, you're going to have a very difficult time. It's just the way it is because of the hurricanes. People on the west coast are having very, very difficult times. So the first list we're going to talk about, these are okay companies. Okay, so they're not good. They're not like really, really bad or bad. They're just okay. So as I put here, they are better than the bad and really bad companies. So that's a low bar that we're really rating these companies by. But they still have their warts for the most part, but they're usually do the right thing for the insured. So yeah, they may fight a claim, they may not pay you, there might be a couple denials here and there, but generally speaking, they do usually at some point do the right thing for the insured. So let's look at who a couple of these companies are. Don't forget, give me a thumbs up, like this video. If you want to see more videos regarding this whole insurance world that we have on our homes and condos and properties, subscribe to the channel. That'd be a great help. Thank you. So some of these okay companies, USAA. So they tend to do the right thing at some point for the insured. They may not pay the claim fully, but they do have an appraisal clause. If they deny it and you end up in a lawsuit, they usually don't drag it on for a long time. So USAA is a pretty okay company. Castle Key, Allstate, same thing. They're kind of okay with claims. You're not gonna get the full value from any of these companies on your claim. So if you have damages that are $10,000 that a contract quotes you for, these companies may give you 5 or 6, and you have to fight for the rest. So if you have a solid reason for a claim that's been paid but not fully, the insurance company like Allstate here, Castle Key, will usually consider your side, depending on what that difference is from what they paid you initially versus what you say you need more to get the repairs done. So second page, SafePoint, they're usually decent with claims. They also have the appraisal clause, and they'll try to make good the claim if you're represented by a public adjuster or an attorney. Tower Hill's very strange. I put them in the okay, but they really do have mixed reviews. Like I put in here as an example, couple times we had a hurricane claim, and they paid it with really no issues. We supported the claim. And then another one that was very similar, we had to sue them. That even had more damage. And it's like, that's just strange. So you pay one claim for $100,000, another claim for $100,000, you don't pay but $20,000, and we have to sue them. It just doesn't make sense. It's almost like they don't know what they're doing, or there's not a common theme as far as how to handle claims. It's become scary. I also had a water damage claim where they dragged an older lady. She was in her 80s. A lot of damage to her house, $100,000. She had to move out of her house, and they really dragged her through the mud, did all kinds of crazy stuff, and I just didn't understand it, why they treated her. We had to sue Tower Hill and go through a year and a half long lawsuit, and they're one of the okay companies. Very strange on how they sometimes pay claims and sometimes don't. There's no rhyme or reason. Like I said, it's almost like they don't have everybody on the same page and dancing to the same song. So the last companies that are okay, Southern Oak, like they're pretty fair with claims. Roof claims, had some luck paying the claims. They're still not without their warts, obviously. Like most of these companies, they want to try and pay you the least amount possible for the claim. The other claim is Sage, sure. They're a smaller company, but you have to keep on pressing them, but they're relatively fair. They have an appraisal clause, and their adjusters are pretty responsive. So that wraps it up for these okay companies. And then we're going to get into the bad companies. Okay, so take a look at some of the bad companies. I've started with these two, State Farm and Progressive. These guys can do so much better. I've seen State Farm do some really messed up things to people in lawsuits. A lot of the case law in Florida where there's certain lawsuits, and State Farm leads the charge in this. They're really now changing the language of their policy to screw people. And this is mostly in the appraisal part. They've changed their appraisal clause, which is crazy what they're trying to do. And what they really do, and their tactic, is to pay very little on a claim and force people into appraisal, because an appraisal costs, I'll just give you a basic claim, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 claim. It's going to cost you between $5,000 and $7,000 to go through the appraisal process. So they could pay these claims, but yeah, State Farm, they're sneaky evil on what I've seen them do to people. Progressive is a little bit better than State Farm. They're not in the okay, but they're better than State Farm. They don't do nearly the evil shit. Sorry, I'm saying shit, but the evil stuff that State Farm does. They pay a little better on claims than State Farm, and they also force people into the appraisal, but their language, they don't change their policies like State Farm. So I would rate ASI Preferred, aka Progressive, it's the same company, better than State Farm when it comes to the bad companies. Progressive almost made the list to the okay companies. The reason why I didn't have an okay is because they pay such a low amount on claims and force people into appraisal. So all these companies are very, very similar. Frontline, Olympus, Kin, Slide, Monarch, Florida Penn, and Edison. Those are the same companies under the same umbrella. Tip Tap and Homeowners Choice is under the same umbrella. Security First, People's Trust. I mean, all these companies have a lot of things in common. Number one, they have no appraisal clause. So the appraisal clause just gives you another avenue on to settle a claim quickly, relatively speaking, and without a lawsuit. The reason why these companies don't have the appraisal clause, they actually want to be sued. Yes, you heard that. They want to be sued because this way they can kick the can down the road and not pay you for a year, year and a half, 2 years while the claim is in a lawsuit. See, the misnomer people have is, okay, file a lawsuit, go to court. Oh, it takes a long time. There's documents that need to be exchanged, depositions of people. It's not quick. So these companies deny more claims than any of the other companies. If they pay a claim, they always pay it very little. A true claim, let's just say a claim you have, got contractor's estimate for 40,000. These companies are going to pay 5, 6, 7,000. Really pennies on the dollar for what the claim's worth. Just a couple other notes. Let me change the color here. So People's Trust, Security First, Frontline, Olympus, all these companies, and I'll add something about People's Trust, but People's Trust, Security First, Olympus, Frontline, got to be careful. Now they have a right to repair, meaning they can have their own contractors repair something in your house. Don't ever go for that. Sometimes you don't have a choice by the contract, but there's a way out of it, a way around it. People's Trust, they have a preferred contractor endorsement. Most people don't know, so they get to have their own contractors do the repairs to your home. Now, don't ever have an insurance company do anything to your home. They use lower workmanship, bad materials. They'll put in cheaper materials and they'll say that it's the same like kind quality when it's not, whether it's floors, cabinets. They're putting in cheap stuff. So that's why they want to handle the contracting part so that they have control over the cost of what it's going to come to for the repairs of your home. And they'll put in cheap shit. It pisses me off when they do that stuff and people don't know about it. So, all right, so now we get into the good part. This is the worst of the worst. The worst insurance companies in Florida. Number one, the undisputed 3 years in a row champ is Universal. These guys are the absolute worst. If you see this little elephant on your policy, sorry, cute elephant, time for you to go. People, you got to find somebody new. They don't pay claims. They are one of the dirtiest companies I've experienced. They are only one of two companies to be fined by the state of Florida in 20 years for bad claim handling. I think this was back in 2013. Almost every case turns into a lawsuit. They do not have an appraisal clause. People argue who's familiar with their policies. Yes, they do. They do have an appraisal clause, but the way they word it is that both parties have to agree. Meaning, yes, if you request the appraisal, Universal has to agree. Guess how many times they've agreed to go to appraisal? 0. So it's basically they don't have an appraisal clause. Evil, dirty company, just rotten. If you end up in a lawsuit, they delay it, or they go to trial. Cute little elephant isn't so cute. Okay, so company number 2, right behind Universal. I think this is 2 or 3 years in a row for them too. It's another dirty company with things that they do. So they were fined in 2024 for bad claim handling across the board. This is one of 2 companies to be fined in the past 20 years. Who's the other one? Yes, Universal. Everything ends up in a lawsuit. They have no appraisal clause. If you guys remember from Hurricane Ian in 2022, there was, and of course the state didn't do anything to them, but controversy because Heritage was getting estimates from adjusters and changing the estimates. So some of these whistleblowers came forward saying they wrote a $100,000 estimate, and Heritage changed the estimate to under $10,000 on some of these claims and left the adjuster's name and information on there like he wrote up that estimate. Really dirty company. If you have Heritage, time to look for a new company. Hopefully you can find another one. And then really the last is Citizens. Now there's a little asterisk with Citizens. So they will deny every and all roof claims if it's not a major hurricane. You have to sue them, go through a 2-year lawsuit. They don't care about legal fees because it's a public insurance company. It's funded by the state of Florida. So they'll go to trial in every case because we, the taxpayers in Florida, have to pay for it. So the one thing about the hurricane claims that with Citizens, they pay literally $20, as I put here, for every $100. So let's just say 20 cents on the dollar. So if you have a $100,000 claim, they'll pay probably around $20,000. And then they also force you into the appraisal situation. The only good thing I could say about this is that only good thing after appraisal, they're very fair and pay promptly once the appraisal award comes in from the umpire. I know you guys heard me talking about the appraisal. Let me just briefly tell you what it is. If either you demand appraisal or the insurance company demands appraisal, you have to hire an appraiser, somebody to represent you in the appraisal. The insurance company hires an appraiser. Those two are to come together and agree on an umpire. And then the umpire makes a decision when he inspects your property with both appraisers present normally on what the value of the claim is. Okay. The other thing about Citizens, since it's a public company, their policies are bad. There's a lot of limitations. For instance, every policy has a $10,000 water damage limit. There's a lot of other exclusions within their policy, like for carports, lanais, anything open. If a hurricane damages it, like a back porch, if it's not enclosed, they don't cover. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun stuff dealing with the worst of the worst insurance companies. Just not good. So let me close this out for you guys. Hopefully I gave you a enough to chew on when it comes to information and education on these insurance companies. I think the common theme is that there really isn't any good insurance companies in Florida, and the majority of the companies handle claims very badly and underpay claims. Um, if you have one of the worst insurance companies like Universal Heritage, it's time to find another insurance company. Sometimes you're not able to because of the difficulties and frustrations of insurance policies and companies in Florida. It's not easy these days. So sometimes one of those companies, one of these bad companies or really, really bad companies are all that people can get and or citizens. So my name's Mike. I'm a licensed public adjuster in Florida. I know you can't see my email, but here's my phone number if you have a question, need help with a claim. I try to help people as much as possible and just be transparent and give them my honest thoughts on their claim. Hope you enjoyed the video.